Well, what an honor it is to be here tonight. Al, thank you very much. Rico. Thank you. Hollis, thank you very much for coming. Rico's wife, if you didn't know, better half. Okay. They say I'm good. Hi, Stu. I was looking for you. I lost him in the crowd.
He's a good Marine.
It's great to be here. Yeah, he's not wearing camouflage, so I can't find him. Well, anyways, thank you all for coming. This is truly an honor. And if Victor's roaming around, please feel free to engage with him. You can pet him. If he goes down by your feet, that must mean you either have a cat, dog, or some kind of animal living in your home, right? Okay. I think we're on now. All right. Well, anyways, I got a funny story. This weekend, my wife and I were at the Hudson Old Home Day. And I don't know if anyone here got there, but it's always a great place to go every year. And we go around, we visit all the booths. We say hello to people, and you know, every once in a while, this year we bought scented candles. And there was these beautiful scented candles, and they, you know, they're made by a family to support children that have cancer. And so we thought it'd be a great thing to do to buy some of those candles because I love candles. Anyways, so we're making our way around, and the first booth that I come to, political booth I come to, is the Democrat booth. And I always stop by the Democrat booth, no matter where I go, just to say hello. And I walked up and I said, "Hi, how are you?" And they were very, very nice and cordial. And I shook everybody's hand, and they go, "Well, who are you? What's your name?" And I said, "Well, my name is Don Bolduc, and I'm going to be running against Maggie Hassan." And the lady said, "Yeah, you probably are." And the other lady goes, "You're Don." And she started hyperventilating. The man came over, escorted her down, sat her down, started fanning her, was giving her water. She couldn't speak. And I said, "This is going to be a great election." I loved it. I loved it. If I'm doing that to your folks here at the booth, imagine what's going to happen on the campaign trail. So, you know, it's all good. We're here because I wanted to introduce you to a gentleman that I got to know because of poor leadership in our military. And this is a serious, serious matter for us in our country. If you've heard me speak before, you know that I'm very concerned about the direction our country is going in. I'm very concerned about the undermining of all our institutions: family, education, justice, financial and economic. We've got an author here who wrote a book, Freedom at Risk. Check it out. I think it's hugely important. Our national security is tied to our economy. It's tied to our institutions: family, education, finance, economic, justice, political institution. But what's happening to our military institution, and what's been happening to our military institution for decades now, is something that the American people haven't been paying attention to. And it was the bad decisions of Joe Biden, the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the chairman and his Joint Chiefs, admirals and generals alike, all the way down to the 2-star level in Afghanistan, and the debacle withdrawal that we saw them put this country through. Now, I have been an advocate for getting out of Afghanistan as a general officer and in retirement, but not the way we did it. Because obviously the way we did it brought embarrassment, shame, resulted in lack of credibility, embolden our enemies like China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. And if you don't think they're our enemies, I really think that we have to step back and really consider the landscape that we find ourselves in. And we have a threat at home now. We have homeland security under attack, open borders, illegal immigration, drugs coming across, 200% increase in the drug problem, fentanyl problem here in New Hampshire. Human trafficking, a national embarrassment. This is all tied to economy. It's all tied to this. It's national security. When I went to the War College and got my master's degree in strategic studies and national security, I didn't study the grain weight for 7.62 rounds, right? I studied national security. And then I went out and I did national security. And it is about diplomacy, information, military, economic, political, all these things that make our country strong. But none of those institutions can stand up unless we have a military that can do its job. And it's a simple mission in its statement, and that is win our nation's wars. And right now, our military is evaluated at marginally capable to do that. And that didn't happen overnight. It happened over a long period of time of malfeasance from our senior leaders, more interested in their careers, in their progression, and what job they had next, than they were in investing in our men and women. And just now, coming here, I was listening to the radio, and the CDC has now had a huge reversal in everything that it had us do during COVID. And the scientists have said we were wrong. And the politicians and elected officials who didn't think on their own and went along with them at the local, state, and federal level endangered us all with lockdowns, maskings, vaccinations, school closings, business closings, church closings, synagogue closings, mosque, everything. And now at the local, state, and federal level, they're all coming back, hoping that you'll forget what they did to us and want you to vote for them again. Or want you to vote them in higher places of responsibility. And that's, I gotta say, it puts me in the tilt mode, right? I don't understand that. So, let me get back on track here. Because what they've done in the military with vaccines alone, dismissing thousands of our service members, 250,000 are now on the chopping block because they won't complete their vaccine regimen or they wouldn't do it in the first place. 300% increase in stillbirths and miscarriages in the military. And that's just the beginning. We took an otherwise healthy group of men and women in our country, probably the healthiest demographic outside of, athletes, Olympians, and we subjected them to a vaccine which was harmful. But worse, we ruined their livelihood and their careers. We shamed them. We pointed fingers at them. My son Matthew, a student at Purdue University for 4 years, received a 4-year ROTC scholarship, would not get the vaccine. He finished his commissioning course. He was set to get commissioned to a second lieutenant. He wanted to serve, and they said nope. They dismissed him from the Corps of Cadets, and then they handed him a $37,000 bill and said, you got a year to pay it back. Thank you very much. And that's happened to countless young Americans. My other son served in the National Guard here in New Hampshire for 6 years. Got activated in January to give shots, came down with COVID, brought it home, gave us all COVID. Right? Thank you very much. Right? Okay, we got it. No problem. Lived through it. He wouldn't get the vaccine. So what did his battery do? What did his battalion commander do? They admonished him. They put all the National Guardsmen that did not want to get the shot in front of the battery and said, these people here are endangering your lives. And then they told him, we're not going to pay you, but you still have to come to drill, and we're not going to feed you, so you need to bring your own food. That is our state elected officials in action. That is the commander of the United States National Guard in New Hampshire in action. And I sent them all letters pleading with them on behalf of those service members, not just my son, but all of them, to not do it. And they still did it. And yet they're all going to stand in front of you and tell you all the great things they did to get you to vote for them, either in the same position or positions of higher responsibility. And you have to say no. It's called accountability. It's called taking responsibility for their actions. If one of them would step forward and take responsibility for their actions, we could understand that. But they have not. They have continued to pull the wool over our eyes, thinking that we're stupid, thinking that we're cattle. They can just move us into the next pen and move on and take advantage of us. We got to put a stop to that. So why do I tell that story? Because it's exactly what Stu Scheller did. He didn't commit a crime. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't violate the chain of command. But he knew inherently in his heart and soul that he had to do something. And the only way they would listen is if he did it the way he did it. Why? Because they don't listen.
Right.
They don't want you to tell them what they need to hear. We need better than that. We owe you better than that. Your sons and daughters are serving. This gentleman right here, son, just got out of Ranger School, on his way to the 10th Mountain Division in New York. There are many veterans in here. We serve, we love our country. We want our military to be strong. We're proud of it. But we have to hold the senior leadership responsible. And they honestly have to realize that they have an obligation to be accountable and responsible and transparent and tell us the truth. If Stu Scheller was in my command, he wouldn't have had to have done that. I was retired at the time, but I would have been one of those generals that stood up and said, this is wrong, I want accountability. So he wouldn't even have been subjected to this. And if he did it, and he was my battalion commander, we would have gone for a walk, had a discussion about it, and I would have given him top cover, and they would have touched him. They would have come to me, because it's my responsibility. He's my responsibility as a general officer. And that's hugely important. If we don't get back to accountability, responsibility, we don't get back to transparency and truth, if we don't get back to honoring our principles and values, we're in big trouble. We're headed that way. The caution sign is in the rearview mirror. It's time for action. And it's we together that has to do that. Now I want Stu to talk to you. He's got a fascinating story. And I would love for you to ask him questions. But when you hear his story, it almost sounds unbelievable that it would happen. But it happened. So, I love Stu Scheller. I respect him. We need more officers like him. But until we fix the top, until we get people that are going to hold these guys responsible, it will not happen, because they will continue to get rid of good men like him that will do the right thing for your grandchildren and your children when they join, and if they join, the United States military. So without any further ado, Stu Scheller. The floor is yours.
Croc TV.